Welcome back to the AIM Show. I'm excited to have another episode with you guys. This episode is going to be all about resilience and the ability to bounce back after hardship. So, recently I've been thinking a lot about resilience, and it's not just about bouncing back when life knocks you down, but it's standing firm, learning from the challenges, I think growing stronger through them. And I think that resilience isn't just a trait that you're born with. It's something that you can build over time with faith and perseverance and consistency. And today I want to kind of talk about how we can cultivate that resilience in our faith, business, and in our personal lives. So, why does this really matter, and why do I really want to talk about this? I don't think life is very easy all the time. Like business and life, it's just full of setbacks. Faith is always tested. Personal growth always feels so, sometimes or always feels slow. So, what and why do we face challenges? How can we turn those setbacks into stepping stones into success, into growth? And how can we build true resilience that we can carry us through the toughest of times in life? Now, I first want to read Bible verse, James 1, 2 through 4. Consider it a pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may mature and complete, not lacking anything. Now, I think that's a beautiful Bible verse showcasing the importance of understanding that you're going to be tested in life. You are going to be tested. Your faith is going to be tested. And it's what you're willing to endure, what you're willing to stand through, what you're willing to basically have resilience through to make you into a more mature, more complete version of yourself. So I think resilience is a decision, and it's a decision to trust God, even when things do not make sense. It's not about like avoiding the hardships when you face them, but I think it's facing them with faith, knowing that God has a purpose for you. I think we think of resilience is kind of just like we're bouncing back from something that happened that was bad to us. But I think it's also standing firm in even and when things are falling apart. I think something or like an example of this in the Bible is Job's life, right? He faced unimaginable loss. I think if anyone went through the loss that he went through, I don't know how many people could do that, right? Suffering, disappointment. He gave up like never did he give up on God. And I think even when his circumstances were at his worst, like when everything was at his worst, he still had the faith to trust God. And I think that's the essence of resilience. And it's clinging to God or trusting and having faith in God, even when the hardest of times come in your life. So in Isaiah 44, 10, it says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So, what can we do in our life to kind of include this, and what can we do to remember about this? When life gets tough, or something that I've been thinking about is remember God is there with you. He is there with you. No matter how hard the difficulty is, no matter how hard life is right now, He's with you. He's strengthening you. I think something that really helps me, especially, is writing some things that you're currently facing on a piece of paper. And literally every single day, look at it in the morning and say, God, how can I grow through this? How can I grow through this? How can I grow in, let's say you're struggling financially. How can I grow in this area of my life? Not just get through it or not just get past it and say, I want to get to this destination, but how can I grow? How can I learn about this difficulty that shapes me into the better person that God wants me to become in that area of my life? So I think that resilience in business is a bit overlooked a lot. So it's kind of about both perseverance and persistence. I think that it's understanding that failure is part of the process to success. I think many successful entrepreneurs, I think almost every single person that I've talked to has faced so many setbacks before they make it big. Now you can ask the likes of Elon Musk. He had multiple failures with his business, or you could even ask a small business that you might know the owner to. And I guarantee you that they have had a difficulty that they've had to overcome, or if they've failed more than they have succeeded, because that's how life is. And I think there's a biblical parallel to this. And I think it's David, and he wasn't crowned king immediately, right? After being anointed. He went through a lot of years of hardship before he saw his promise fulfilled. And I think you have to understand that um, it's going to take time. It's going to take time. And it's just the matter of if you can persevere through that hard time. Can you be persistent on keeping the gas or consistently showing up? I think oftentimes we conceptualize what is necessary for success. And I think a lot of people overcomplicate it. And I made this video on it recently, but success is hard, but it's not complex. It's a simple process. If you want to get a certain result, you have to sow a certain amount of seed in that regard. So if you want to get a certain amount of success in your business, you're going to have to put a certain amount of time in sacrifice in order to get that success, right? So you have to understand it's going to take time, effort, sacrifice to get the thing you want to get to. And I think a lot of times we see on social media, especially, that it looks like it just happened overnight, right? Like everyone looks like they're successful. Everyone looks like they're driving the Lamborghinis. Everyone looks like they are flashing the materialism. And if that's really success, that's a different story. I truly don't believe that is. But you have to understand that those people, it's like less than 1% of the population. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. I would encourage you to try to get there. I would encourage you to try to make as much money as we can. But you don't want to idolize, you don't want to think that they don't have issues. They all go through hardships. They only post the good times of their life. And don't get caught up in understanding or thinking that they have a perfect life, because they don't. And I think a lot of people misinterpret or feel down bad about themselves, thinking that they're behind, when in reality, if you were to go back 30 years from now and you were to say to people that there would be 18 or 17-year-old kids that are multimillionaires going across the world, traveling and doing things because they bought some kind of coin that went 100x, people would think you were nuts. And that is the beauty of the internet, and that's the beauty of the online space. It has democratized the economy. But at the same time, you have to understand that if you want success to last, you have to put in the work. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of money because they do not know the value of hard work. So just some kind of tangent that I went on. But you have to understand that resilience in business is about perseverance and persistence. A modern example of this, I guess, is I kind of touched on Elon, but Walt Disney, he was fired from his newspaper for lacking imagination, right? And if you think about that, it's like, what? Like, he's known for having the almost like the most iconic movies of all time. And he was fired for having a lack of imagination. So don't let anyone put you down. Don't let anyone think that you are not worthy of doing something, because you just have to consistently improve, consistently iterate. You kind of have to just be persistent. You have to be persevere through the hardest times. And that's how you build resilience. One Bible verse that kind of connects to this is Galatians 6:9. And it says, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." I think that really beautifully encapsulates what I just said. But if we don't give up, we'll eventually get to the harvest that we are working for. Just understand that if you just continue to never quit, you're never out of the game. You could be 50 years old, 100 years old, and if you're still not quitting and having that success, it's not a failure. And yes, it's probably better if you started earlier on. But if anyone says that it's stupid for you to start something at a certain age, don't listen to them, because it's your life. And if you want to do something that is going to maybe completely change your life, go do it. What can we do in business that kind of could help us in this regard is embracing failure as a part of the journey. I think that I struggle with this a lot. And I used to struggle with it a lot, at least. Understanding that it's okay to fail. I didn't like the feeling of failure, and I don't think anyone does. When you put in a bunch of effort and just for to flop, like no one likes that feeling, right? Like if you start a business, or if you went to a competition and you didn't lose, or you, um, whatever it might be, that failure is going to be a stepping stone to a greater success. And you have to remember that. And you have to learn from it and keep moving forward. I think a lot of people say that you learn more from your failures than your successes. And I think that is a very true statement. Something that I would encourage you to do today is kind of take a moment, kind of reflect a little bit on the past, and kind of look at the setbacks that you've overcome and remind yourself of what you're capable of overcoming and what the future challenges are going to come and how you can overcome those as well. I think that a lot of people kind of put themselves down almost. Like you can do so much more than you think you can. It's just a lot of times your mind says you can't. And because you believe that it's so far away, you can't do it, then you just don't do it. So understand that you can do it, and believing in yourself before you do, and reflecting on the setbacks that you've overcome before will help in that regard of understanding that you can and you will get over everything that you're going through eventually. I think going over resilience in our personal lives often comes down to adversity and the difficulties that like refine us and shape us into our character and who we are. Growth does not happen in our comfort zone. And I think a lot of people understand this, but don't really think about it as deeply as we should, right? If we go to the gym and if we only go, let's say, once a week, and let's say person B goes to the gym 4 times a week, then the person who goes to the gym 4 times a week has 4x multiple on the person who goes once. Now, this doesn't mean that you're working the same muscles every single time, but the volume and going and doing something that you didn't really want to do, that growth will definitely make you into a more resilient person because you're doing something you don't want to do. Like your muscles have to be torn, right? This is an example from the gym. Your muscles have to be torn down and then repaired before they can grow bigger. And I think that the same thing is true in life. Hardship oftentimes tears us down, but makes us stronger if we let it make us stronger, if we're aware of what it's trying to teach us. I think the Apostle Paul has a good interpretation or way of thinking of, or a good example of this. He went through lots of difficulties, right? And he often spoke about rejoicing in suffering and understanding that it produces perseverance. And I think that's beautiful. In Romans 5:3, verse 5, he says, we also glory in our suffering because we know that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame. So I think we have to change our perspective a little bit, right, on struggle. So we see it as an opportunity for growth rather than an opportunity for a setback. Now, I think you have more than one way of looking at your challenges. You can look at it from a positive or a negative light. I think I've talked about this before, but try to look at it from a positive light. Reflect on how God has used your past struggles and shaped you into a stronger person. I know in my life, if I reflect back to the struggles that I've had and I've looked back at the things, what has God used in those past struggles to shape me into the better person that I am today? I think the understanding that you will have struggles, but if you're aware of trying to understand and trying to reflect on how did God shape me into a stronger person, right? Like how did this difficulty shape me into a stronger, better version, more graceful, more loving, more serving person? How did that happen? And how can I reflect on this? I think that's a powerful thing that we can do that can allow us to unlock a different way of thinking. I think that resilience in leadership is kind of serving others in strength or with strength, right? I think true resilience isn't about standing or just about standing firm in our own selves, but it's also about helping others stand firm too. I think leadership through resilience means serving others, even when things are not going to be perfect or maybe they're not going to be the best for us, right? I think a really beautiful example of this is Jesus. He led with resilience. He didn't lead with a place of comfort, or he didn't lead with a place of um, stillness or stagnation. He led with a place of serving, loving, and he kind of poured into others, even during the times of hardship personally in his life. I think that a beautiful example of this is when Jesus was washing the disciples' feet in an act of humble leadership. I think despite him knowing that he was going to be crucified, he served the people around him. Like leadership is a service, and resilience enables us to serve others, even when it's hardship that we're facing and how many challenges we have in our personal life. And I think that's something that definitely, if we look at resilience from that life, and if we look at resilience from a place of service and understanding resilience in leadership is serving and having humility in everything that we do, and understanding that if we serve others and put others and pour into others, loving one another, standing firm in what you believe, but also helping others standing firm in them too. Like, I think a lot of people, especially in America, we're very individualistic. And I think that being able to support one another is something that is a beautiful thing that humans need. We're naturally social creatures, and we need people to support us and be a good companion through the darkest of times. And I think that one way to do this is serving others and serving through the active or the lens or the approach through humility. I think a beautiful Bible verse that encapsulates this is Matthew 20:28, which says, "The Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many." I think that's a very good verse, and I've been coming back to that recently a lot. And I think it's because service to others and um, understanding that because Jesus served and us, and because we have the will to serve, and because we have the ability to serve others and put them and love them and pour into them, that we should, and that we should just be good examples and good examples of Jesus. I think that's something that is very important. So, what can we do? I think we can lead by example. I think we can often offer support to someone who's struggling. And even if you're struggling too, I think that kind of putting other people and helping others can help with your own struggles as well. Like, I'm not saying that you have to not deal with your own struggles. Everyone has struggles, and I think that it's important to deal with them. But you don't know what a small act could do to someone. Like, you could reach out and have a phone call, and maybe that phone call is very meaningful to them. So I would encourage you to lead by example. And I think also asking God for strength to serve others, I think, especially when it's difficult, is something that we can also lean upon and gain a better understanding for. So I think those are two things that we can do in having resilience in leadership. But yeah, I think resilience is built over time, and it's a choice that we have. It's a choice to choose God, to keep going in our business, and to grow through the hardship of our life. I think it's about using our struggles in life to strengthen our faith, to strengthen our character and our leadership in every aspect of our life. I think in faith, standing firm and knowing what God is trying to refine us or how he's trying to define us through a storm is the key takeaway that I would put. I think in the business section, I think pushing through setbacks and knowing that success is often a result of perseverance and persistence. And I think in the personal growth section, it's not really that sectioned, but kind of tried to. It wasn't the best. In the personal growth section, I think allowing God to refine us through our hardship is kind of the main message. So I think overall, it's like those are the three core principles that I think resilience are playing out in my life. Those are some things that I've been thinking about recently. So I'll end with Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. My final question to you today is, where do you need resilience in your life? What challenge can you face knowing that God is refining you through that challenge? Take a moment today to reflect, pray, ask God for some strength, and know that if you keep going forward, you'll eventually get to the harvest. I love each and every one of you. I'm praying for every difficulty that you go through, and I'll see you guys next week for another amazing episode.